Greetings everyone, welcome to this year's April Fool's Review. I started this tradition in which I review an issue that you'd think would be a joke, but in fact actually exists. Last year it was the Sonic Sabrina crossover. Go watch that review for my thoughts on that event. This year, I've decided to review Sonic issue 71, and oh boy we're in for a treat. As the cover says, the end begins now. What does that mean? Let's find out. First, the backup story is actually the start of this issue. It begins with Tails and Amy flying into a damaged part of the city. They touch down in front of a library. Amy previously visited the place with Dulcie in an earlier issue. They explore the place until they literally run into its lone occupant, Jeremiah. He's been working to preserve the collected works of his grandfather from Robotnik. By the way, his grandfather's a writer and artist named Kirby. Get it? The stories were meant to be read by everyone, and Tails opens one up. It's a history book revealing the beginnings of civilization. First came the Echidnas because author favorites. Then other civilizations emerged, divided by species, each specializing in something. One day this guy, Alexander, had the idea of combining the other species' talents to create a better society. Most species agreed to the idea, except for the Echidnas who respectfully declined, and the Overlanders who were too aggressive. The plan worked and a new society was born. Thanks to his benevolence and intelligence, Alexander was crowned king of the newly created Kingdom of Acorn. Besides a teaser to the events of the Great War, that's pretty much the story. Overall, it's not that bad. Please put down your torches and pitchforks, haters. I appreciate the world building and history. Helps flesh out the old comic universe. Now Jeremiah is a brave individual. He managed to hide from Robotnik's forces for years, plus helped keep Mobiletropolis' history alive. Art Ma Winnie's art helps with this presentation as well. I'm giving this story a 6. It's meant to be part of a series of backstories that detail Mobiletropolis' history. And now folks, it's time for the big event. Remember the line, "The end begins now"? It not only applies to the order of the stories, but the order of the main story itself. Let me show you. This is the first page of the story. We have Sonic sporting his modern look for the first time. Oh yeah, this is also the issue that debuts Sonic's modern look. Because a few issues later, the Sonic Adventure adaptation happens. This page right here could be the first page of the story because how we got here stories happen all the time in comics. Next, there's page 2 with everyone celebrating, energy surrounding Knothole vanishes, and Sonic teasing his new look. Let's move on to page 3. We have classic Sonic in a suit with a super emerald on his back, ready to do something. Note the upper left corner. There's a caption box stating how much earlier this takes place relative to the previous time caption events. For example, this scene here is 40 minutes earlier than what's depicted on page 2, and this goes on until we reach the final page of the issue, which is actually part of the beginning of the story. If you have headache pills, you may now take them. To spare you the pain of possible brain aneurysms, I will summarize the story in proper order. We begin with a satellite, OSAT unit to be exact, coming online. This has been a recent thing these past few issues, satellites coming online and causing things like opening cell doors or earthquakes. In this case, the satellite targets the temporal disturbance on the planet. Meanwhile, there's fallout from the events of the previous issue. Long story short, Nate Morgan, the King's old friend, was kidnapped by Snively and some mercenaries. Sonic and Elias, against the King's orders, rescued Nate, but the mercenaries escaped and Snively supposedly died. Sonic and Sally head toward Knothole Village to visit Sonic's family. I should point out that thanks to the events of issue 50, Knothole Village is trapped in a time zone 3 hours ahead, and the only way in or out is the Oak Slide. Speaking of the slide, it's emitting this weird glow. Sonic and Sally enter the slide, and after feeling this weird effect, emerge from the other side relatively fine. Knothole, on the other hand, has a severe case of the rewinds as the inhabitants are moving and talking backwards. Sonic and Sally are safe due to the glow. The only way to figure out this problem is to get out of the village. Unfortunately, the slide at this end is also affected, meaning they can't enter it. Sonic wants to try moving so fast as to break the time barrier. He grabs Sally's hand and goes for it. Sonic makes it. Sally's trapped in Knothole. Sonic meets up with everyone else and we get some technobabble thanks to Nate Morgan. The beam targeting Knothole is actually resyncing it with the rest of the planet. However, if the beam is still at the spot when the two time periods meet up, it could get bad, as in destroy the fabric of time bad. Don't worry, Nate has a plan. They need to draw the beam away from Knothole when it resyncs with the rest of the world. To do that will require this super emerald that he has, long story, and Sonic the Hedgehog. All suited up and with the super emerald on his back, Sonic starts running around the world. The plan is for Sonic to travel all over the world so fast that time itself is moving faster than normal on the planet. Plus, it helps that, thanks to the emerald, Sonic changes into Supersonic and Ultrasonic, not to mention various other one-off forms based on location. Eventually it works and the beam starts homing in on Sonic, and yowza! The day is saved, Knothole is back in sync with the rest of the planet, and Sonic himself heads towards the village sporting his new look. Which Sally questions. 2 words, Sally. Sonic Adventure. I'm not gonna lie here, folks. The reason I've been offline these past couple of weeks was partially because of this issue. Well, 1, to actually pick out which issue to review for April Fool's Day, and 2, after reading the story, I had to take a break. My mind started to hurt. This backwards gimmick, in my opinion, was not that good. I understand they want to experiment with things, but this is one experiment that failed. I know it's a gimmick in the real world sense, but what about in-universe? Could it be fallout from the events of the story? Could it be Sonic slowly retelling events to Sally? I'll leave it up to you. I did like how the crisis was solved. Create a time anomaly to make the beam move away from another time anomaly. In this case, it's Sonic pretty much pulling a reverse of Superman's spin the Earth backwards trick. Having a super emerald helps. Then we have the aftermath. Sonic sporting his modern look. I have a theory that in-universe, with all that timey-wimey stuff happening, the beam aged Sonic's body into a form that he would eventually take. Sonic could have changed his fashion slightly by adding buckles. He could also let his quills grow out a bit. As for the eye color, there are various factors that can cause eyes to change color, including aging. Of course, there's this possible scenario to Sonic's new look. Hello, Archie, this is Sega. Look, we've got a redesign for the Hedgehog, so will you please change his appearance accordingly? Thanks. And then the powers that be at Archie eventually created this story. The art's alright. It's Stephen Butler, but this is before he overdid it with all the muscles and stuff. This story gets a 5. It would have been higher if not for the backwards gimmick. However, it does end the Knothole is 3 hours ahead situation, introduces Sonic's modern look into this continuity, and continues the mystery of the activating satellites, which, spoilers, will be resolved in a few issues. If you're going to read this issue, proceed with caution. Well folks, thank you for joining me for this April 1st review. Have a good day, and be safe. Jeez, they're so committed to the backwards gimmick, their credits are backwards.